Welcome to another Maid Training Academy video class. Maid Training Academy provides online classes to become a certified professional cleaner for as little as $200. As a certified professional cleaner, you will learn how to deal with hundreds of different conditions, situations, and ways to clean a house. Watching these videos is not a substitute for certification because they only show you a few conditions and situations. For more information about course topics and enrollment, visit maidtrainingacademy.com. This video class is going to cover move-in and move-out cleaning, including doing the inside of a refrigerator. And now, if you revert back to your Maid Training Academy classes, you'll know that we give you ranges of time of how long you should spend in any particular room under certain conditions. And so with a move-in, move-out, the longest you should spend in a house that's been well maintained is about an hour and a half maximum. Now, this house had not been really well maintained, no maid service prior to that, so you're gonna run into these kind of common conditions, which is you're gonna have food spots in this particular house on most of the cabinets, not all, but most. That adds a lot of time. Also, there's a lot of dust on baseboards and blinds and really everything. Also, you're gonna find that the refrigerator in this particular cleaning has food in it. About half the refrigerator is full, which is what you really find more on a current or recurring customer where the person's living in the home and you'll do the inside of the refrigerator, which is still some good insight to how do you tackle that, which actually makes it a little bit tougher and it takes more time. In this particular home, the cleaner did a great job. She stayed on track, but it took her about 2 hours to do just the kitchen. And then instead of about 45 minutes on a refrigerator, it took her over an hour. So this is from a total time in the kitchen for this move-in, move-out, it's about 3 hours. Now you can tell this video is not 3 hours, thank goodness. It's right at about an hour. So what we did is we kind of compressed it a little bit, and we also took advantage of speeding up the video a little bit. That may be a little hard to watch, someone going kind of fast and then they slow down certain areas, because certain areas you want to really spend a little bit more time on what they're actually doing. Be prepared. You're going to find bits and pieces of this video. A lot of it actually is going to be a little faster, and then we'll slow down and talk about things. So it's a great class. I hope you enjoy it. And so let's get started. The first thing you do is you do get your mop water ready. And because it does take a little bit of time, and she's not waiting on it to get filled up. She's going to go take this time and she's going to start checking the cabinets inside. And that is something that you do on a move in, move out that's unique to any other cleaning, is that you're cleaning inside the cabinet. So she's just checking to make sure that there's no surprises, if they didn't leave, cabinets full of stuff, as she kind of gets ready to tackle this. So she's kind of prepping it while that bucket of water is just getting filled up. A lot of multitasking as a professional cleaner. So she's going to take that bucket of water, put it over there on top of a mop head. And so you don't want to have your mop bucket sitting on the bare hardwood floors, or really any floors. Next thing she's doing, she's very carefully measuring the amount of floor cleaner concentrate that you're putting in your bucket. And I did say floor cleaner because most floor cleaners are safe and effective and neutral on all floors, including hardwood floors. And so if it's safe on hardwood floors, then it should be okay on wooden cabinets. So the first thing we do, of course, when we start cleaning is to do the high dusting. Never skip that step. It is, the golden rule, top to bottom, left to right. And so the first thing we do is we do the high dusting. And you'll see she's not only going to the top molding, she's also going where any place high where dust can be sitting or accumulated. And with all high dusting, it also includes low dusting. So underneath cabinets as well too. And so we go into a little bit more detail on some videos, the bathroom cleaning, kitchen cleaning, and even the family room cleaning. We show a little bit normal video pace versus a speeded up version. Now we're going to slow it down here to show you just how much dust can be caught up on some of these baseboard or these high molding in high places. Look at all the dust that's coming off of that. Look at that. That can tell you a couple things, that the house has probably not had maid service before, or not very good maid service. But that's why you have to start at the top, because you're knocking that down, and then you can start cleaning the other areas. You'd hate to have your kitchen all wiped down and then run into, having to knock this back onto something that's clean. And so, or try to hand wipe these cabinetries with dust on them. It just turns that dust into mud. So you want to get that dust off first. So of course she's doing a great job going over every high end, and she worked around the room. So she finished where she started. So the next thing she's going to do is she's going to grab her step ladder, because she's going to pick a point in the room. A lot of judgment calls there, kind of at one end of the room, and then work her way around it. So she's going to get on that two-step step ladder. And you can see, look how much water she's taken out of that rag. She's not taking a sopping, dripping rag to clean this. No, you just need it damp. And so she's going to carefully get up there, and you can see she's wiping down everything. Okay? Now, I almost wish I could bring back the sound of the actual sound as she's wiping the sound. It sounds like she's running over sandpaper. Now, why would it sound like she's running a cloth over sandpaper? Is because they're covered with spots of food, and these cabinets may not have been wiped down for years. And so the more you wipe that down, it goes from a scratchy sound to a smooth sound as she's taking off the spots. Now you'll see that she's wiped the outside. Now she's going to get a new clean spot on her cleaning cloth, and now she's going to do the inside. And so doing the inside is just as simple as it sounds. You're wiping down all of that. There's a lot of things you can run into, from the type of paper that's down there, all kinds of interesting variables that you can run into. And with your certification class, we go over a lot of those. And then what you'll see now is that as she's up top there, she's going ahead and take care of the top of that refrigerator. She's not going to do the entire refrigerator, but while she's right there, she's going to get the top of that refrigerator wiped clean, and she's reaching all the way back underneath. So don't just do the edges. Reach as far as you can go back, or anybody could go back, to be able to get all of that done professionally and as far as back as your hand can reach. You never pull a refrigerator out. That's also taught in the safety part of our cleaning, and a customer wouldn't expect you to do that. Look how dusty. How long has it been since that thing's been wiped down? It's been a minute. So while she's up there, she's doing a very thorough job on that refrigerator. Because a move in, move out typically will include doing the refrigerator if a refrigerator is there. Because again, some homeowners will take a refrigerator with them, and some will leave it there. And so what she's going to do now, she's going to get several rags prepared to take with her. So that way she's not losing time coming back. And she'll kind of put on their step ladder. We talk about using a step ladder in all of our cleanings. And believe it or not, some independent maids will not use a step ladder. I don't know how you would be able to get to that. And you don't want to use a full-size ladder. That's just hard to work with in comparison to a two-step step ladder. But this is, of course, mandatory to do to get back to the very back. And you never stand on cabinetry. That's another one of many things we talk about. Some people, well, I can get around that. I'll just stand on the cabinets. Wrong, bad, bad, bad. You can fall down. The customers don't want you on the cabinets. You can fall through the cabinets. They're not designed to stand on and on and on and on. So again, I wanted to be able to show you these cabinets, and that she's touching every single one of these. This is going at quite a bit of a fast. I'm not sure if this is 4 times or I think it's 4 times normal speed. And you see she's not wiping it down. It's not just running a rag across it. She's scrubbing it, and she's going on those hinges. And there's not one piece of the cabinetry that she's not touching. And then when she does the outside, then she reaches all the way back in. Not just as far as you reach, all the way back in. And as she's bringing that dust out, she's shaking a rag where that would go to the floor. Well, you'll get that eventually. See how she's shaking that rag every time she brings that out? And she's getting what's going to be back up there is stuck on and dried food. And so inside those cabinets, you'll absolutely run into a lot of stuff. Now with the cabinet drawers like this, you might be tempted to take this out. Your training goes that you do not want to take those out because they can be a booger to get back in. You can easily break them while attempting to take them out, and you can waste a lot of time pulling them back in, and you don't need to do that. But you do need to get all of that inside wiped out, and you'll see that she's pulling out the crumbs and the dust and whatever's in there and shaking her rag, but she's getting into the corners. So you're not just wiping the middle part, you're cleaning it all out to remove and get out of those drawers any food articles and crumbs and stuff. See how she's shaking her rag to get it out? And not just inside, but the side panels as well as the front. So the only thing she's really not doing that you might be able to do if you pull the whole thing out, the whole drawer out, is the back side. And you're not going to get food on the back side. You're on the side because it's all the way out, it's exposed. But the back side is not exposed to food getting on it. But again, some companies do it differently, so you always want to adhere to what the customer wants or what your employer instructs you to do, because a lot of different ways to clean a house. And that's the one thing about Maid Training Academy. It does give you core training. It's a starting point. It's the basics. It's also best practices of what, through years and years and years of practical experience, what works best. But again, a lot of different ways to skin a cat, as you know. So she's wiping it all out, being careful also not to apply too much pressure, because even with that's being pulled out, if you're pushing down as you're scrubbing that drawer, if it's got maybe some ketchup in there or something sticky, be careful. You can break that. You can snap it right off, and that's an expensive claim. So she's going all the way to the bottom, and it's not top to the middle, it's top to the bottom. Now what you see is she's done with the rag. She's tossing it over in a general area. That's a very common and a professional move. Now, in most cases, you're going to, well, really all cases, you're going to be throwing those on top of your dirty rag bag or in your dirty rag bag to keep those rags from just sitting on the floor. Now, this particular owner said in the kitchen they're going to be redoing the floors, and so it was a judgment call, and so that's fine. But normally you'd have something over there as you continue to throw your rags in one central area, and not stopping. You're tossing it over there. That saves you a lot of time. Now again, over the stove top, you're going to find a lot more grime from cooking. Very normal. That's going to be on the outside of those cabinets, as you probably saw, again, at 4 times normal speed. She's really spending a lot of time on the outside of the cabinets, and a little bit later on in this video, you'll see that she's actually feeling it with her bare hand to make sure it's not sticky, and she's gotten all the spots off. That you can be fooled by your eye alone. Do not rely only on your eye. You're doing a lot of touching and feeling and looking in different angles and directions, which we'll have some examples of that here in just a moment. And so she's going around the kitchen, top to bottom, right to left. So she's doing the top section first. So she's kind of getting that groove, wiping down those cabinets. See that little spot there? It didn't come off. She keeps on rubbing it. And that's going to be one of the most heavily used cabinets, is right around where you normally find it. Around the stove, around the sink, around the garbage can, things like that. So she's getting those hinges as well too on the inside. So you're really wiping down all of the cabinetry. And she's going across right there. That's where that dust started falling, that heavy dust. If she would have hit that with the rag on top of that dust, you'll see that it had fallen down during her high dusting. Even over there, is that wet on that dust is going to turn to kind of like a muddy clay. And that can be a real booger to get off, for sure. So let's take a look at these cabinets. Are there spots on them? Oh yes, not just dust. See those little food spots on there? See the spot there on the right the middle? More food spots stuck on the cabinets. That's why I said you can hear it almost sound like she's taking a rag over sandpaper, but as she continued to wipe it down, you could hear the noise go away because she's getting that off. Now you always want to have your canister vac with you, because as she inspected those cabinets, she knew, hey, there's looks like some spices, maybe some pepper, salt, or whatever there's there. It's faster and more efficient to go ahead and use your canister vac to go ahead and vacuum those, a lot of dust or a lot of food that might be in there. You could have cereal crumbs, you can have potato chip crumbs, you name it, it can be left behind. And that's what homeowners will leave behind, because that's why they hire a professional. They're going to remove the stuff from the cabinets, as you see, but they need a professional to come in and get all that stuff out. They're going to clean it. And so you'll find this often, I'd say every time, in some cabinet drawer or a cabinet is this. And now look how much faster it is. So she's not taking that and she's not shaking her rag over the floor, which you can do to get some of these little things that are stuck to your rag off so your rag cleans a little bit better. But if you have something like that, you don't want to put all that onto the floor to make sense. Now she's going to continue to look and go, are there any other areas that had some crumbs or something that I could use that canister vac right here to get that all out before she comes back and wet wipes it down. Now here's an interesting study. We talk about this in your training. Sometimes the paper that's laid down is old, and be careful, you don't want to pull it out. You may feel inclined to go, well, I'm going to help this customer. I'm going to pull it off. No, 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 don't do that. Customer didn't ask you to do that. They wanted you to clean their kitchen, not remodel it or replace the paper in there. And if you pull it out, it looks worse, quite frankly. And you can see she's using her hand there. Looking down there. Is there any more down there? Up there? No, everything looks pretty good. Okay, so now she's going to stop using the canister vac and then go back to where she was before, wet wiping the cabinet down. Now, Deborah gets a little bit out of order, not too much, but when we do, any job, if you wanted to examine the room, is there any pre-treatment that needs to be done? And in this case, she went right past the stovetop. You're going to see she's going to stop here in just a minute, and she's going to go and see about pre-treating the stove. So some cleaners will do that at the very beginning. That's actually in the textbook. And sometimes you'll just, as you work your way around the room, you're going to go ahead and pre-treat once you come across that stove. Just make sure you don't wait too long, because pre-treatment is just that. It needs to be treated and sit for a period of time before you actually start scrubbing it. So what she's going to do, she's going to prepare the sink to put in the drip pans from this electric stove. In our kitchen video class, you saw that we dealt with a gas grill with gas grates. You do that not completely different, but it is different in many ways. So again, she's going to take some of that, and not much, just instead of putting it in the sink, she's going to just put it there on the floor, just kind of brush it out. And she's going to spray that with her degreaser. And she's going to let that just sit. But why did she put the rags in there? Because whether it's a porcelain sink or a stainless steel sink, you're putting a metal object, be it a gas grate, or in this case, the grates from the electrical burners, that can scratch a porcelain. So she uses the rags in there to help protect it. Now look at the baked on, food and grease or whatever it might be on there. We'll talk a bit more about, what do we do when you run into something like that. So we'll hold that for just a little bit later, but she is going to go ahead and clean it. She's not going to go, well, that's undoable, or that's ruined, or why don't they just, spend, $10 to get a new pan? Well, they hired the cleaners to come in. Let's see what we can do first to see how good we can get these pans before we go out and buy a new drip pan. So it makes all sense in the world just to let the cleaners do their magic first to see as good as it can get. And we'll certainly make it look better. So now she's going to come back, and she's kind of getting ready. So when she comes back, a lot of prep work done as a professional maid, and so she's going to use this has an SOS pad to scrub those drip pans. But she's going to go ahead and just bring it over there, so when she comes back to it, it's already kind of staged and ready to go. Now with electric grills, those get removed a little bit differently. We'll talk more about that when she returns there. So again, she worked her way around the top cabinets. I cut out, for the benefit of keeping this video under an hour, the rest of those top cabinets she did. Now she went around the top to basically the end of the kitchen, and then she went to the bottom cabinets and worked her way to the left. But the key with top to bottom, that never gets changed. But right to left and left to right, just stay on track. Now we stop here to show you, are you going to get your whole body back in there to wipe the bottom of that cabinet down? You better. That's what you do as a professional cleaner. As a new homeowner coming into the house, wouldn't you want all that stuff cleaned out? Of course you would. So again, and you can see she's doing the handles, and you look here, you'll run into all kinds of weird cabinetry. Be careful. This is something you may even find like on a Lazy Susan, that type of cabinetry. And you'll see here, there was something that's left behind. She moved it out of the way before she started to clean that top area. And you'll see here, she ran into a little bit of a sticky spot that's not coming off with her rag. So what she's going to do, she's going to get her sponge, get it wet first with the same solution. Never use a dry sponge. And she's going to come back and she's going to work on that area right there to get it off. Now, when you use a sponge, be careful. If you have some cabinets that are really just in rough shape, and you scrub and you scrub and you scrub and you scrub and you scrub, you can actually discolor that cabinet. So you don't want to go to your sponge first. You want to use your rag And then if you have a spot that won't come up, then go grab your sponge. And of course, she's doing all the way down to the bottom, including that baseboard and under the cabinets. So she's doing a great job. And you'll see her, she uses her fingernails a lot too. If she sees a little spot, she can use her fingernail to kind of to scrape it, to pop it off actually. You see what she's doing now? So she's done the cabinet. She's now going back to look at her work. So there's checks along the way. You check while you're cleaning, and you check when you're done with the room or when you're done with the section, especially a big job like this. And then when you do your final check when the whole house is done, you do another check. So she's going back and she's feeling that area with her hand. She popped a little spot that was on there. Feel a little stickness on there. She's looking at it. I'm trying not to talk to her. And by the way, when we videotape this is a voiceover after. So I'm not talking while she's cleaning. By the way, that would be quite a distraction. But she wasn't really happy with that, so she went back to that. And now she's looking at a couple of different angles. She's going over, in some cases, with a dry rag. If you use a dry rag, those will actually stop and get kind of snagged more on something that's sticky than a wet cloth that will go over it. Now, that's a wet cloth there as well, too. So she's got two of them. I don't know if you can tell that or not, but she does. So she's really making sure all that, including the handle. When she went around that handle, you can see the grip she put on it. She really gripped it she turned it to get all that stuff that's stuck on there off. She's feeling those cabinets, feeling for anything sticky. Look how she's looking at it, almost like a mirror. Different angles, different areas. And sometimes you'll find that it's not a spot, it's just a discoloration in the wood. But you are looking at it from all these different angles, just like it would be cleaning a mirror. The next is the microwave. Whether this is a move in, move out or recurring customer, this is how the inside of a microwave can look, even on a bi-weekly customer. And so some customers will maintain their house in between. Some customers say, hey, today is maid day. And so we're just going to leave that for the ladies. And that's okay. That's what they pay us for. But you saw there was a lot of dried stuck-on stuff there. In this move and move out, it may have been a house that had been empty for a while. And so what she put in there, she put in there a cup, you always carry a cup with you, of water, and she's going to set the timer for 2 minutes, and she's going to boil that water. Now, why would she do that? Because that hot steam is getting the inside of that microwave steam to loosen up any stuck-on stuff within that microwave. And you see that she removed the plate and that little ring. And while that is still going through its 2 minutes, even though we're on fast forward here, she's not sitting around just looking at it, waiting. She's actually went over and pre-treated the plate. And she come back over and just getting ready for this microwave oven to be ready. And don't do truly. You want 2 minutes is the time you need to wait. You need to let that steam come out. So watch this. She goes, let me go and take a look at that oven window. And you don't do the whole oven. You don't do the inside of the oven. Why would you not do the inside of an oven? Hold that thought. We'll come back to that. It's almost done. Count down. Now that's going to be a hot cup. Boiling water in 2 minutes. You know that'll boil. So she's getting 2 rags, or at least a rag here, and grabbing that and pouring that out. Now some cleaners will pour that right onto those drip pans. A little hot water on there might be okay. And that's okay. That's a good move, but it's not really necessary if you're pre-treating it, because the pre-treating just let it be sitting there in that solution and help out. So now what she's going to do, she's going to use her sponge because it is so stuck on there. And the key is not just the back wall, it's the top as well too. And really scrubbing that. And you don't want to spray your solution in there, because you see those holes in there, those vent holes. If you spray your cleaner inside there, that is going to come back and it could drip through those holes and short out and ruin the microwave. And trust me, we've had to pay for a few microwaves because that's exactly what we did. Now this is one that sits on top, a little less expensive. If it's a built-in microwave, that can run you $600 or more to repair it or replace it, because the repair in some cases is more expensive than replacing it. Those are some of the little things that we teach you in Maid Training Academy. So even one video only goes over a few scenarios, and I don't have enough time, even an hour, to talk about all the things you learn in your certification class. It's sometimes easy to miss a microwave because it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, but like an oven door, you have to open it up. You have to remember these things. It's the inside. So she's not spraying it in there in the inside the microwave oven. She's spraying that on her rag directly. And look how she's going underneath and she's looking inside. So if you just stood there and cleaned, you're going to miss that underneath side. Look how she's looking. Bravo. Great job, Deborah. This featured cleaner is Deborah, and she is a highly decorated, I kid you not, cleaner. A lot of success, great customer reviews, very successful, very busy. That's the good sign of a good cleaner. Are you busy? And look how she's cleaning the inside of that and looking at it like a glass. You know why? Because it is. Wow, is that the same microwave oven? Almost couldn't believe that would all come off. And then she's coming back after she cleaned it, and she's using the glass cleaner because what she used before was an all-purpose cleaner, and that can leave it streaky. And so she's going to finish it up with glass cleaner. Now, sometimes a cleaner who's maybe a little aggressive, well, let me just remove that. No, you're not going to lift it up because it's plugged in. But you can lift that up and get underneath it a little bit. You want to be careful, but she's certainly getting as far back as she can. See, she's going way back on both sides. You can't really see it, but she did lift it up, and she, just used her hand to get that and pull everything out. But that is a great job. But we're not done. So we're going to do the ring. Look at that sponge. Look at all that stuff that came off that microwave oven. All right, yep. So she's going to go ahead and clean that plate. Be careful. That's the other reason why you have a rag in there. It helps a little bit in that glass hitting that ceramic hard sink. So when you flip it around like she's doing it, which of course is at 4 times normal speed. But look at her grabbing with both hands, with rags in both hands. That's safety and speed. Look at her look at it. Make sure there's no spots. She lifted it up to see if it's truly absolutely clean. Then she's going to go ahead and do that ring. And she should look at it again before she puts it back in there. Now she's done. This is before. Yuck. This is after. Nice. Look up top. Great job, Deborah, as always. Now we're moving over to the oven door. Now we advocate only doing the oven window on the inside. Why? Most ovens are self-cleaning. And if you read the instructions right there on the door or in the manual, it says, do not clean a microwave, an oven, because you'll damage it. You'll hurt it. So you let's let the oven clean itself, and then you wipe out all the ash from it being super baked, which is what happens. It runs at a very high temperature. So she did the inside of that oven, and then she's going to go ahead and start and do the top part. Now we slowed this down a little bit. Because this is an area that you got to be careful on, and what you absolutely do is you remove these knobs, which he's going to do here in just a second, because you want to, and that's standard. That's you're going beyond the norm. No. That you have to do this, and so you set those aside, and you definitely want to get behind there, and that also allows you to clean those knobs better. So it's the same way you clean it on a spring clean, on a move in, move out. On a bi-weekly customer, on a monthly customer, you want to get behind those, and the best way to do that, if not the only way, is to remove the knob. So now she's getting all around that. Great job. And because it's an oven, obviously you're going to get a film on there. It's going to be sticky just from the oven being right there, and you open the oven door, you get everything froths out, and it's going to land on that. And so she got the buzzer turned on, and so she actually needed a little bit of coaching on to turn the buzzer off. There you go, and now it's off. So when you do have any electrical appliance, and you can actually punch something or turn something on, don't just start punching numbers. Don't panic. Take a second, and then go from there. So this is the latch. You can see it says self-cleaning, and that's when you lock that down so you can't open the oven. That's what self-cleaning ovens do. They get super hot, like a kiln, like a potter would use to fire some pottery. It's going to get that hot on the inside, and it's going to turn all the food and stuff stuck in there to a white powder ash that you can just use a fine brush, almost like a painter's brush, just to literally knock the ash off the bottom and bring it out. And also, when you're working with oven coils, it's hard to work around that coil, and if you remove it wrong, that's yet another expensive claim. So this is a 2-oven unit, and so we're gonna kind of just bypass this. We're not gonna have you watch Deborah clean the inside of the oven again, but it's the same process. You pre-treat it and then you come back and you hit it with glass cleaner once you're done. So once she's done with the oven, now it's time to put the knobs back on, and you got to put them on correctly. And sometimes you have to match that up. And so what you'll find is the on-off switch are pretty straightforward. A little bit of a notch in that, but the oven temperature setting can be anywhere. Usually, if you're having a hard time getting it back on, it's not going back on. You're going to find that most ovens, when people use them, are anywhere between 300 and 450. In this case, you'll see the right is at 400. And you got to be careful when you take these knobs off. You want to set them aside, preferably in the same order, because if you can have a stovetop that's gas, you may have 8 knobs there. So you want to just to save time is to be able to kind of, when you take them off, your rag set over on the side, so you can kind of place them in the right order, so you know where they're going to go back a little bit quicker. She's spinning it out. She's spinning it, trying to get it back on there. It's taking. You can see where the peg is not completely round. It's got a little bit of a flat side to it, so she's just trying to find it. And where's she going to find it? I bet she's going to find it around 400. Yeah. She's looking again. Has to get on there. I bet she's around 400, 350. Look at that. Ha ha ha. Very good. Very good. Look how clean that looks. You can see your reflection in it before. I didn't do a very good job of getting a before picture there, but it was definitely sticky. Well, she's done the cabinets, the top and the bottom, and now it's time to do the countertops. And so she's put everything in the sink, and remember, in your training, your sink is the last thing you clean. Why? Because you use your sink throughout the entire job. So that's why it's always last. You see how she just tossed her rag over there? Yeah, again, there's usually going to be a rag bag over there. And so you want to make sure if you miss the bag, you really don't want to have that rag sitting on the floor, preferably. And you'd have to go over there and pick it up and put it back on. So now she's doing the countertop. She's using her all-purpose cleaner, and she's using your sponge. You have to use your sponge. And keep in mind, a sponge is not to clean, it's to loosen stuff. So you can come back with a rag, as she's doing there, and then you can wipe it clean. Going over that, right? Awesome. Over all the edge. And she now needs another rag. She just toss it over there. And that saves you a lot of time. But you have to be good at tossing your rag. You can't just be haphazard about it. And she's using that sponge again on that backsplash. She's doing all that. Getting her sponge a little bit wet. Never use a dry sponge. All the switch plates and the outlet plates, you get all that done. And she's getting all that done. Now she's going back and she's drying it. And again, the sponge is just to loosen dirt. And then she's coming back and using it to clean. Getting that backsplash, getting that little cable box cover there. And she's not wiping. You can see the kind of, even if she's going 4 times speed, she's scrubbing. You're physically scrubbing that. You're not just lightly going over it. No. That won't get it clean. All you're doing is smearing it. You gotta get it off and shake your rag, as she's always doing. Now she's working her way around that top. Of course, she's skipping the sink because, of course, that's last. And so she's going to go ahead and kind of get ready. She's staging really for the next step, which is what? She's going to go ahead and take care of that stove. She's worked her way around that. Not yet, because they were sitting over there, so she just moved them. But she's working her way around, and she's moving it off. See how she's pulling it off and letting it fall to the floor? That is exactly how you do it. Now that she got all that stuff that was on there off, now she's going back and now she's going to clean it with the sponge, or loosen it up with a sponge, and she's going to use her all-purpose cleaner to get that done. All different types of countertops. There's granite. There's porcelain, there is formica, there's all kinds of different things you're going to run into, and there's a lot of different things to consider. But for the most part, again, you're always using your sponge, you're always using some type of cleaner, and then you're finishing up with your rag to go over it. Backsplash is where you get some complaints because people, if they're trying to cut a corner, they're not going to go to the very top of that backsplash, and you absolutely have to. Now, you notice here there's a gap there. You see it looks like it may be mold, but it's not. It's just, this is an older home, as you can probably tell. And you'll see that there's a gap there. And you'll find that where some grout's just gone. You just keep moving along. Now she's over here to the stovetop, or the range hood. She's going to test that real quick. So she's going to go ahead and she's going to work on that stove, I believe, next. And so she's going to go ahead and get that stovetop clean. And once again, she's going to use her sponge. Now you got to be careful. If it's a glass top, use something different. If it's a stainless steel, you may not use your sponge because even with a light duty sponge, you can still scratch stainless steel if you really scrub it too hard. It's kind of hard to do with a light duty one, but you can. So again, you have to make these decisions, and we help you with that in your certification classes. So she's going to go ahead and do the top section first, which you should, because if not, it's just going to fall back onto that clean stove. So she's going to do that range hood first. And again, this is in fast motion. Now you saw that she took the knobs off of the electric grill or electric stove top, but she couldn't get it off on that vent hood. And often they don't come off. They do come off on stoves and ovens, like you saw, but not always. But she did kind of pull just a little bit, see if they'd come off, but they didn't, and that's fine. Now you'll see with those plates out, you can see down inside there where stuff is even fallen off of through the drip pan, and so you'll get some stuff down there. We'll come back to that in just a second. And you also notice that she turned on the light. As simple as that may sound, you got to make sure you use all the tools there, including just simply turning on the light. And you'll see that she's really having to get all that grease that it can really accumulate, of course, on that range hood. And so she's looking on the underneath side. Great job. And into the corners. And so she's going to use her rag to get down in there to grab what's down in there, and she's going to come over and shake it back on the floor. Get it off there. It's not going to hurt the floor, even though this gentleman said that, the floor is going to be redone in the kitchen. Even if you have just a normal house, it's okay to do that because it's not talking about much stuff, and again, it's not going to hurt the floors because you're going to get it off before with using your broom and your canister vac to get it off the floor before you mop it. So the next thing is we're going to do underneath the range hood. Now some maid companies will have difference of opinions here. We're kind of telling you, or showing you kind of, I'm not sure if it's the best case scenario because we certainly clean a lot in these videos, kind of basically everything you would normally, that you could clean. And that's certainly under the range hood, which again, think about it being greasy. I mean, that's where it's going to be. You also see that she removed that little plate for the light. You don't find that very often. What she found is it was very loose. So she simply went and took it out and cleaned it over at the sink. And you'll see that they're actually the vents that are there, the little wire mesh vents. You don't mess with those. A homeowner can replace that, or they can soak that in a solution to help kind of get some of that stuff off. But usually you just simply replace them. And of course, she's replacing those knobs as they were before, and to make sure they're in the off position. With any type of stove, but be it a glass top or something like this where you have the electric, you got to make sure they're turned off. It's an easy thing to forget, and if a gas stove is on just a little bit, very dangerous. So she is cleaning these drip pans. She of course is using a stainless steel pad, and she got as well as she could on that. This is another judgment call. Could she have spent more time trying to get all that off? Perhaps. But really, in a situation like that, you really just need a new drip pan. But she did clean it, and she spent a lot of time. It just wasn't going to get very clean. Now, before you put those electric elements back in, you'll see, again, you got to be careful. Put it in. Don't jam it in there. You can ruin it. Okay, so anytime you take something apart, there's a challenge and a danger of not putting it back together very well. So doesn't that look good? Now you can see some of the stuff that's just burnt on there, but that looks really, really good. And again, she's going to come back and she's going to hit that dishwasher. So on a dishwasher, you are going to clean out the inside of the door there. Not always will you clean out the trays that come out where you put your dishes, because it is a dishwasher. It is cleaning that. But she did take a peek and it looked like it was in pretty good condition. And so she's done with that. Now she's moving on to the inside of the refrigerator. As we mentioned at the beginning of this video, we did say there's food in there, which is not common with the move in, move out. They're usually empty, or they might find a few things in there that really are just trash. But what she's doing now is she's moving everything out of the door, keeping it in the refrigerator because the food looks like it's still good. But that was just a beer container that was just purely trash. But what she's doing is she's getting that door free. She's removing all those stands or those little trays, and remembering where they were for sure before she so she can put them back correctly. And then she's using her all-purpose cleaner to spray that inside of that refrigerator down. And most all-purpose cleaners can be really cleaned even on glass. It just takes longer to get them streak-free. But in this case, she really needed to use the all-purpose cleaner. And so she did take that off so she could look at it. See how she's she is getting everything off like you would a mirror. Absolutely perfect. And it's about corners and edges. In your certification class, we thought about adding a chapter on corners and edges, because that's the difference between, a good cleaner, or really not even good because it's not clean. It's the mark of a professional. You're doing it completely clean. And it's easy as you're cleaning something to push stuff into the corners, and you can't do that. You got to get it out. And there's a lot of ways you can do to get it out. If you get stuck, you can use a toothbrush. You can use, a plastic spatula with a rag wrapped around it. All these little tricks that techniques we teach you in your certification class. So you saw that she did, after she put them all over there, she did pre-treat them. And then she simply, after she's pre-treated them, and she's coming back and she's, again, in this case, she just rinsed them out and is drying them clean with a rag. It's interesting, some people, and it's true, you can clean with water and a rag. You can mop your floors with a water only. It just takes longer, and sometimes it doesn't get it as clean, but boy, it's close. If you have something that's really dirty, it may take a little bit more oomph, something with a solvent, but a lot of times if it's not in bad shape, you just need to use your rag to wipe it clean. And she's doing that. You saw even at this fast speed that she's looking at it to make sure that none of the spots are on there. And once she gets them all done, right, then she puts them back in, because you also don't want to leave the refrigerator open too long, for the benefit of food. So now she's putting everything back in as it was, which can be like putting a puzzle together. There's all kinds of different refrigerators. Now look how clean that looks. Looks great. And then she's putting everything back in there. And just like you would with the bathroom or anything else, labels out. In the refrigerator? Yes. Labels out. You want the refrigerator to look great. Don't just throw stuff back in there. You get labels facing out. So then what she did, as you saw, she took the food that was in the refrigerator and put it in the door to make room to get to those interior shelves. And she's going to do it one at a time so she can continue to stage around the food that's in there. So she pre-treated that with a little all-purpose cleaner and let it sit there in the sink. Now she's going to go back and clean that top section. And again, every groove. Look at, not some grooves, every groove, she's getting that out. And refrigerators can, be in all kinds of shapes. It can be where you're cleaning a house that may be a rental property. So that refrigerator may have been there for 2 months because it hasn't been rented yet. Okay, or the landlord just waited to get it cleaned. Now, what's interesting is when you put things back in, you're like, well, I got it out. Surely it can go back in there. And you have to be careful because you can break stuff. Sometimes those glass plates will pop out. But now she goes, okay, that's how you put it back in. Great. Also, make sure the refrigerator door is all the way open to put them back in. That's something that we talk about in your classes, but sometimes if you don't have the door completely open, it'll kind of block you from getting it back in there without having to twist it, and you don't want to do that. Now here's the next one. Just going to take that out. You have to twist it, turn it to get it out sometimes. Just going to put it over there, pre-treat it, get all these out, all of them out, over by the sink. And then she's going to pre-treat it. There you go, pre-treat, pre-treat, pre-treat with all-purpose cleaner. And then back to clean the inside of the refrigerator. So you can see, as a professional cleaner, you do a lot of squatting, a lot of bending, and again, mostly in kitchens and bathrooms. And truly on all cleanings, monthly, occasional, weekly, you're just getting up and down a lot. And what that little thing in the back was, that was a little reservoir for the water dispenser, so it helps to chill the water. That's what that was. And if you can reach it, you got to clean it. And so you'll see that often. Be careful, there's going to be tubes back there that you can dislodge if you're rough with it. Now in this little, that's probably like the crisper or the vegetable tray. She's having to use her sponge. Now the other one she didn't have to, but that's why she had everything set up to the right. You see how she got things staged? Yeah, there's a good chance I'm going to need it. Where do I want it? Right here next to me. And so you can use your caddy on the floor, but again, that's your whole caddy up there. Then you have to reach inside of it, up and over when it's on the counter, and you don't want to do that. So she just went over there and got them ready so she can use them right there at her ready before she puts them back in there. See how she's using her knee to kind of lift it up? There's a lot of, those little moves that you just find out on your own. You use your knee, you use your elbow, you use your body in a lot of different ways to help you to hold stuff. Great job. She's setting it aside. And look at that. That's a glass that'll fall out. I even teased her. I said, good job. You pulled it out before you turned it and flipped it. It would have just fallen out. Oh my goodness. And that would have broke. And if this refrigerator is at any age, you may have a hard time finding a replacement. And you usually do. You find parts for that, but it's just, you don't want any breakage. Now, the other thing too, you saw she put that rag on that counter. Why? Because then she can use it to put that, to sit things on while she cleaned that piece of glass, versus having it just on that countertop, which could scratch it and can be slippery. Okay? So again, there's a lot of these little things. You don't want to overlook it. And that's why when you study for your certification classes, you study this stuff. You don't just read it, you study it. And then you take a practice test. And then you take a final exam so it really sticks in your head. Now what's funny about this now, she's putting it all back in. She goes, well, something's wrong. It's not fitting in there. Huh, don't jam it. It's not fitting. Well, maybe something's wrong. Maybe it's the one above. So it is like putting a puzzle back together. That's why before you take it out and put it away, you got over the side, you got to go, okay, where was that? And then she's returning everything. So this is before. This is pretty typical. This is not bad. Not bad at all. This is typical. Even with the recurring customer in the house. Now look at it. Is that even the same refrigerator? Nice. And that's why recurring customers will have the refrigerator cleaned out on recurring service. Now, in this case, the refrigerator is still plugged in, which means the freezer is. So you're not going to clean the inside of a freezer. Why? That wet rag will stick. Now, we're stopping it here. Look, see what she pulled off? That's the little drip pan where the water dispenser is, and you have to remove it. Some don't come off, but most will. You have to do that. See, I stopped the video, kind of freeze framed it there, so you can do it. Now she's put it over in the sink. Why? Because she's pre-treating it, helping to get all that stuff off. And if you don't, you'll just there where the seam is of that tray sitting in the little notch that it sits. You'll see the calcium buildup in there, and it just looks bad. You have to pop that out if you can. So she's making her way around that black refrigerator, and watch this next move. See, she's putting her hand to the back side of that dispensing deal. If not, you're going to dispense ice and water on you. If you push it down, so with her back, left hand, she's holding it while she's pushing, while she's wiping it clean. Then she's getting inside that little area where it was sitting, and she's not real happy with that. So what she's doing? She's getting that toothbrush. Gotta have a toothbrush. So she's getting that all out of the corners, all out of the edges. The brush, you're just gonna put that drip tape back on top, aren't you? That's gonna cover it up. You gotta do it. That is a mark of a real professional, and that's really what should be included. Nice. Now you can see there's some marks on the refrigerator because it's an older refrigerator. It's been used, and so even though you clean it, you may not get the scratch marks off from just normal wear and tear. And again, she's going all the way down the bottom. It's top to bottom. It means all the way to the bottom, including these little air vents that'll have dust on there and stuff, and she's getting that all off. Great job, Deborah. And while she's down there, you saw she did a little bit of the floor too, as well too. Now she's doing the left side of the fridge, just of course working her way around the fridge. And you see she went right to left, so she didn't bounce around a lot. And some of that's still drying. And she noticed that there's some stuff on there because it won't come off. If you have anything less than perfect, you have to leave a note for the customer. Hey, we weren't able to get that spot off the refrigerator. Oh, wow. Well, thanks. That goes a long way. Plus, they know that you know it's not coming off, not coming off, versus them saying, oh, they didn't get that off. No, we're telling you, we couldn't get it off, could not get it off. And so again, she's using 2 rags. That's just habit. You pick up a microwave dish, rags in both hands. It's faster and it's safer. And she's popping it back there. Boop, popped in there. Dynamite. Look at that. That looks great. So now what she's doing is she's getting all those rags that she had sitting in there when she was doing the drip pans for the stove and the other things from the inside of the refrigerator, and she's getting those out of the way because she's not quite done yet. Those are dirty rags, so she got those off the floor, even though the customer said not a big deal, don't worry about the floor. So this video is not going to include mopping the floor. We're going to end with everything done except that. Now she's going to come back to the sink. You got to use Comet, and that's going to be used to help get that out and truly perfectly clean. And again, you're going to use your sponge in there as well as a rag. And there she is, her sponge. I'm going to speed it up a little bit here for the sake of time. Over everything, that little scratchy side of that non-scratch pad. And the sink was not in bad shape, but look at it. That side really needed some scrubbing. Look at it. She's getting her hand, the palm of her hand, not her fingertips, the palm of her hand to really put a lot of energy behind that scrubbing. Now after she used her sponge, she's going to come back now around the faucet. She's going to use her toothbrush around those corners and edges. Again, corners and edges. It really is the difference between, having a customer be okay and a customer being really happy. And she's just rinsing that all out. Not happy with that. She went back and hit it again with a sponge. Rinsed off her hand a little bit too. Quickly got that. She's bringing the water back into the sink, not to get back on her clean area. Look what she did. She got back there and got all that water was up there out. Even though that grout's missing, she still hit it with her toothbrush just to make sure that was okay. And it certainly was. Great job. Next thing you do when you do a kitchen, whether it's a recurring customer or a spring clean or move in, move out, you always do the window over the kitchen sink. So usually maid companies don't include windows as a standard. They do windows, they sure do. But as far as a standard, usually though in a move in, move out or a spring clean or even recurring service, most times you do include doing the window just because it's going to have stuff on it. And you're doing the inside only. And so again, she's using her step ladder. Again, it's great to make it easier and get to the very top of that. And you're also doing the framework as well too, because that's what you do on move-in, move-outs as well, spring cleans. So she's doing all of that. Now she's spraying a rag. Why? Because she's already cleaned the sink. Now she probably could have done that window, before she got into the sink, kind of top to bottom. She got a little bit out of the sink there. And that can happen sometimes. It's a general rule. This is core competency. This is, try to remember always top to bottom. And if you don't, then you have to make sure that you don't spray like she did. She sprayed right under the rag, so taking some precautions. And you'll see that she'll hit that sink actually one more time. And that's the one thing about working top to bottom, is that you don't have to re-clean something that you just cleaned. Again, shaking a rag, using the all-purpose cleaner right there on the window sill, all the way across. And you can this is 4 times speed. She's really rubbing that to get that clean, because it's going to be dirty. It's just going to be dirty. Not because the customer's dirty. That's just normal wear and tear. See how she flipped that rag over there? She's saving time without any consequence, because she's throwing it over there. If her rag bag was over there, it'd be right on top of that. And then if she misses a rag bag, she's going to go over there and pick it up off the floor. And she bring everything out. Labels facing out. Once again, labels facing out. And you'll see that, look at that, some of the stuff's back in that sink. So that would have saved her some time working that top to bottom first before she did the sink. But she's going to come back anyway and dry that sink completely dry. And getting all that stuff back out. Very good. And this customer's going to be very happy. And they were, as they told us. Wow. And it wasn't like, oh, thanks. It's, wow. And you'll see when we kind of wrap up here, which we're getting close, you'll see some more before and after. And that's a cool part about this job. It's very rewarding when people will get emotional, and they be prepared. They will start crying. Oh my gosh, my house has never looked this good. Look how she's getting deep in there and turning her hand like that to get all that stuff that's going to be in there. It's a sink in the kitchen. It's a kitchen sink. Look how she's twisting her hand with that rag in there to get all of it out. And when do you stop cleaning an area? When do you stop cleaning it? When it's clean. And not until then. And you don't leave the area till it's clean. You don't go, it's supposed to be clean. I'll come back to it. No, you're not. You'll forget. Get it clean. And not mostly clean, get it all clean. So she's done with that. She's putting everything back into her caddy before she moves on to the next room, because she's not done. Okay, she's still got to, you probably saw somebody else in there, one of her partners cleaning the rest of the house, but usually you're not done when you just do all that. She's feeling it. Is there anything on there? Feeling it. Looking again. Check the microwave again. Check, check, check. And when she's done with the entire house, she's going to come back and check it again. But take a look at how this looks. So there's the sink. We're done. What did it look like? What did it look like before? Oh, yuck. Nice. Take a look at those cabinets. Look at there's no spots. No spots. What did it look like before? Normal. That's normal. This is normal conditions. All the spots. Look at it now. Nice. So we didn't do the floors, but we did everything else. That's how you do a move in, move out. Great job, Deborah, as always.